Three former Ukrainian presidents say they support the demonstrations, and looking deeper into the issues, experts say there's a real division among people living in the country. I asked a specialist at IHS Global Insight to take us inside the issue. Lilit Gevorgyan gave us her insight.
Well, you rightly mentioned that traditionally Ukraine has been divided along the linguistic lines. I wouldn't say really cultural lines. Of course, there is a large Russian population in eastern Ukrainian regions, and there are many Ukrainians whose first language is Russian. So there has been this linguistic and cultural affiliation with Russia, particularly in eastern Ukrainian regions. At the same time, in the western Ukraine, you've had sort of more traditional Ukrainian, in some cases also nationalistic movements. This divide was apparent during the Orange Revolution, when it was effectively the western Ukrainians who were leading the movement, and that ended up actually souring relations with Russia. So there hasn't really been a lot of effort put into persuading the eastern Ukrainians that EU is the long-term best choice.
You're talking about the Ukrainian goals. Let's talk about the potentially attractive asset to either the European Union or Russia, which Ukraine obviously is. A lot of mineral resources, an annual output of more than $300 billion, but it also has some financial burdens. It owes about $60 billion, or a third of the country's GDP, in debt. So here's the question, from an economic perspective, how much power does Ukraine have?
I think the Ukrainian economies in Ukraine's as a country, the economic potential is quite large, and I think one of the misfortunes of the country has been the fact that due to macroeconomic policy failures in the past decade, I'd say, this potential has not been explored properly. Ukraine is one of the largest European countries. It has 46 million population, well-educated population, and it has mineral resources as well. Then it has legacy infrastructure from Soviet Union that has been modernized. So the potential is there. However, it hasn't been explored yet. Unfortunately, because the process has reached a point where it's either or for Ukraine. It seems like the choices is a bit zero-sum. Either Ukraine is with European Union and against Russia, or the other way around. The way forward for Ukraine could be going back to do their homework, so to speak, on the macroeconomic side, take painful decisions. For example, liberalizing gas prices, unlocking the cooperation with IMF, partially devaluating their currency. So once they are in better shape, then they will be in a position to make foreign policy choices. However, there's another problem, and that is that the current president is very keen to get re-elected in early 2015 elections. And of course, all the painful reforms that I mentioned earlier will be very unpopular, hence his reluctance to go for them.
Lilit Gevorgyan, thank you so much for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.